CGA Sports. Are you kidding me? It's back. And we're back in here for the NFL playoff review. And we got me, CGA, and none other than Scotty P. Scotty P, tell them what your name is and what you do. Can you hear me? Scotty P. Let me see here. All right, he's frozen on my side. I don't know what happened. Let's bring him back up. He's frozen. All right, I don't know what happened to him, but it doesn't matter. We'll get it going today. Scotty P got frozen. I don't know where he went, but he'll come back. Scotty P was in here, and we're going to get this show going with the NFL review of the playoffs. We are down to the final four teams, and the final four teams are going to be the San Francisco 49ers, the Kansas City Chiefs, you probably know, as well as the Baltimore Ravens, and then the last team, the Detroit Lions, going in there. We got a classic matchup coming up here in the NFL playoffs, and we're going to probably get our pick of who's going to be in the Super Bowl. I know you guys are excited for your team, the Buffalo Bills, with another Buffalo Bill classic choke. And I don't even know what to say, guys. Man, the Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills, and they are who we thought they were. They were. All right, so yeah, we got that going on here, and we will decide which teams will be in the final four of actually what team doesn't belong in this competition right now. What team is the least expected? What team doesn't belong in this conversation? And all of that in the bag of chips ahoy. So I hope you guys are buckled in. We'll be here for about 30 to 35 minutes to get all of this done. And then we're not going to make predictions yet. We're probably going to wait until Friday to make our prediction for who's going to be in the Super Bowl. But we might get a better indication of what's going on here. And you can let us know. All right, I should put up a poll. You should let us know which one of these teams are going to be in the Super Bowl. You know what? That's what we'll do now. We'll put up a poll. Let's see if I can get a poll up really quick to see what the audience thinks here. And there's only 37 people in here. We'll start a poll. Which team will be in the Super Bowl? In the big game. We'll call it the big game just in case the NFL is watching. Ravens, Lions, the 49ers. And by the way, my prediction is still on. I had Kansas City and San Francisco. Okay. But right now, the Chiefs don't look like the favorite right now. Which team will be in the big game? You let me know right now and vote it up. Who thinks the conspiracy theory is on and set? Is the conspiracy theory on and set? The conspiracy theorists are abound. And I talked about this last week. Taylor Swift. The Taylor Swift effect is in full effect. All right, Scotty P is back. Let me see if I can pull him back in. There he is, Scotty P, man. You made me have to talk for a good 3 minutes by myself.
And you know what it is? It's our way of teasing the audience.
And you got me because you were a frozen character on the screen, and I was like, Scott, talk. You had to introduce
I was thinking,
yourself.
man, I got canceled before I even got started.
Yep. So right now you did good in last week's game, but introduce yourself. Let them know who you are.
Scott Pritchard. I'm the founder of Pritchard'sPicks.com, been featured on VegasInsider.com for decades, Action Network for you sports betting fans. Most recently, I was in the World Championship Sports Betting, the Circa Invitational, the world's largest and best sports book, 16 of the world's best going head-to-head for cash, trophy, and the famous green jacket, cash out to the top 3 individuals. I was fortunate. Third. Top 5 are asked back, so I'll be back next year. But if you want free daily picks, simply go to my site, Pritchard'sPicks.com. But I do this for a living. I bet all day, every day. They play the Star-Spangled Banner every day of the year. I generally have action every day of the year. And tonight, I'm heading off to Costa Rica for a week, come back for the Super Bowl. I'm going to go to the big game, and then I'm off to Thailand for 2 months.
Oh, man, you got a busy schedule coming up. You leaving for the NFC and the AFC Championship game. Is there a reason why you leave then?
Well, you know what it is I try to get away right before NFL starts in September, and then I try to escape right after the Super Bowl. But in this case, 6 months. Now, football is almost always very lucrative. This season, for the year, documented 66% winners versus the number last year, 66%. Figured objectively that it wouldn't be duplicated, but it was this year in the playoffs. I'm 7-3-1 versus the number. But 2 your question, Greg, I have to tell you that it is a grind. It is emotionally draining. I love it. I chose to eat this frog. And again, more times than not, it's lucrative this season, another fantastic, winning, productive season. But having said that, going 7 days a week, we're talking college and pro football, college and pro basketball, Major League Baseball, and now March Madness right around the corner. I have to decompress. I have to chill. I have to relax. And I'm telling you, one of the reasons I've had so much success is because I make a point. I force myself to get away before and after football season. And respectfully, there's only 2 games in the next 3 weeks. You have 2 games this week and then a 2-week break before the big game. So you're talking 2 games over a 3-week window. So if not now, my friend, when?
Yeah, when? Yeah, you got a lot coming up, and enjoy your time in Costa Rica. We'll have you on the show over there, assuming that the internet is good and you're not having your hands full of some Costa Rican locals. Or we're
Well,
talking
I
about
always
food.
have
We're talking
my
about food.
hands. I always have my hands full. I've never been bored a day in my life. Costa Rica, I've been there before. San Jose is the capital, and beautiful women over there, and the hospitality of the people second to none. So this is an ideal time to be there in the summertime, consistent with Mexico, which I love as well. It's just too ungodly hot in the summertime, so I try to go during the off season, if you will.
All right, good. You live in the free agent lifestyle, as you know, that's part of the brand, CGA brand. Many free agents, and you're living it, and you're living on the edge, and you got the intelligence, and now you're traveling. You're doing well.
Well, I've said many times I want to be like you when I grow up, but I'm
Oh,
just following your lead, the free agent lifestyle, man. I'm telling you, it works for me. I absolutely love it. The great news, my friend, is the fact that I can actually work remotely. I can do what I do when I'm in Thailand, when I'm on the beach in Malibu, when I'm in Costa Rica. So again, I'll be betting NBA every single day when I'm on the road, traveling worldwide.
hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's what it is. All right, check it out, man. Tampa Bay, Detroit Lions. We're going to go through these games right now. We have a poll up, and the people who are watching are predicting the people who are going to represent themselves in the Super Bowl. The majority of the audience thinks the Ravens right now, and the second place team is the Chiefs. Nobody's really convinced on the Lions and the 49ers, so you can tell us what happened. Tampa Bay, Detroit, I'll put up the scoreboard just for people who want to see NFL results. And just in case you missed the game, Detroit wins 31-23. They were up 14 in the last quarter. Tampa Bay cuts it with a touchdown. They go for 2 and they miss it, forcing them to have to come back and score again, obviously. And Baker Mayfield throws an interception early in the early parts of the drive on their side of the field. So what do you think about this game?
Well, as far as Tampa Bay, Detroit, to recap that game, first of all, we talked last week, Coach, that you've got Baker Mayfield. He's erratic. He's inconsistent. Mike Evans. I'm a big fan of the star wideout. Defensively, Tampa Bay, pretty solid team. It's tough to run against that team. But the fact is, Tampa Bay. I like Tampa Bay plus the points. If you could steal or catch a 7, it got to 6.5. I never could find the 7. It actually saved me money. It would have been a push actually because I couldn't find the 7 at close 6. The late money came in on Tampa Bay plus the points. And to your point, the fact that a 2-point conversion was missed, that would have made it a 6-point game and they would have covered the 6.5-point number. But this goes back to something I always talk about. You always have to identify value, and ultimately you have to be able to recognize the value. And you might not think that a half point is that big of a deal in regards to the point spread, but I'm telling you, it's huge. And here's why. You have 272 NFL football games every year. If you can find, steal, scalp, grind 1/2 point per game, that is 136 free points to your advantage over the course of the season. So a lot of times these odds makers, please keep in mind, it's me against them against me. And my job is a lot easier because I pick my spots, spot my picks, and never pick my nose. Their job, they have to put up a side total money line on each and every game. And I get to, again, be highly selective. But Baker Mayfield had no excuse, no reason to throw an unforced error interception. I mean, it's one thing if it's the last play of the game, but you had about $1.50 to go in the game. You've got a timeout, and you've got second down, and you were under no pressure. So I just don't think he saw the guy. So I know Baker Mayfield, he completes a lot of passes. It's just that I'm convinced he's colorblind.
Well, that would make sense because I think he, like you said, I just don't think he saw the linebacker sitting on that play and he was able to step in front. I do have a question about that 2 point conversion. To basically win it on the drive going back down the field on the next possession. Would you have gone for two right there? I mean, just as a coach, what do you think of that decision?
Well, I'm not a coach. I stay in my lane, and I know that the announcers were talking about it. Everyone on the street today is talking about it. And
Right.
me personally, I can make an argument for and against. Uh, I understand you're going to go for two because if you convert, and I guess it's a 55% chance likely that you'll get the 2 point conversion, where there's a 95% chance you're guaranteed, or you're 95% chance
Extra
that you'll
point.
make the extra point. But even
Yeah.
if you fail on the 2 point conversion, you come back down and do it again. But
Got to
I
do
kind
it
of
again.
like the fact, personally, if you're a dog and everyone knows that Tampa Bay was a dog, they were a 6.5 point dog in this game. I'm all for going for the win on the road. You play for the tie at home. It's old school, but I'm old, so I tend to go with that theory of thought. But from a sports betting standpoint, obviously, if you had the 6.5, you'd like to just, it depends what side of the equation or what side of the coin that you're
Yeah.
on. I pride myself on being objective at all times, and things that I do not have any control over, I never give it second thought. So I respect the question because, as you know, I respect you. But what would I have done is totally irrelevant. I don't coach football.
There you go. Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the announcers wanted to make sure we knew that mathematically this was the best analytic reason to go for it. And I'm like, but you explained it. 56% here, 95% on the extra point, you win. And then, but if you just going for the tie, old school logic, that's old college football where the game never ends. I mean, the game can end in a tie. So I think that's where that logic comes from because back in the day, college football, you can end on a tie. And so it was like, hey, you're on the road, you go for the win, as opposed to otherwise. But it's interesting. Detroit Lions, what do you think about them as a team going in on the betting side? And then do you think they have a chance? Just, you don't have
Well,
to
I
predict. You have a chance going in.
Well, you mentioned the Cowardly Lions, and for the past 60, 70 years, you've been exactly right. They've won one playoff game prior to this year. I believe it was back in 1991. But the fact is, they haven't done squat since 1956. Not to take anything away from this year's team, because they have talent at the skilled positions, but I've been singing a song about anti Dan Campbell for some time. I don't like the guy. He's a media darling. He's more about the soundbite than he is X's and O's. He's constantly taking high risk chances with low risk reward. And if for somehow, some way, he almost always comes out. He's the kind of guy that could get tossed into a sewer and come out the other end with his pants pressed somehow, some way. But as a professional sports bettor, I don't like randomness, and I don't know what this clown is going to do. He consistently goes for it on fourth down. He consistently will fake a punt. So if you're the opposing team, just play the percentages. Everyone stay home and don't get caught gambling. Take nothing. Assume nothing when it comes to the Lions. But having said all of that, the fact that they are on the road, they're unproven. They're a Cinderella team. It's a feel-good story if you're into that kind of thing. I've never been a big fan of Cinderella. So Jimmy Crack Corn and I don't care. I just want to cash my ticket. I just want to see the cashier. The Niners are head and shoulders better than this team, and the point spread here in Vegas will tell you that. They're a solid 7 point favorite to win this game. The total 51.5. I bet under 51.5. It's now 51. 51 is a key total. I didn't hammer it, but I bet it. And shocking, as soon as I bet it, they moved the number. That's the kind of respect I have here in Las Vegas. I'm not being braggacious. I'm just stating a fact. But the Lions will be hard pressed if they can beat a San Francisco team. I don't envy the Lions, coach, and here's why. The Lions are on the road against a proven team, against a great quarterback. The difference between Dan Campbell and Shanahan for the Niners, it couldn't be more different than night and day. I'm telling you. The fact that the Niners are at home, the fact that the Niners, you know how good a team is. You can tell how good a team is when they don't play their best game and they still win. The Niners respectfully had no business winning that game against the up and coming Green Bay Packers. So in this specific case, I like the Niners. Are they going to cover the point spread? I don't know. I have a small opinion on the under 51.5. It's now at 51. We'll see where it goes, my friend, between now and Sunday.
Okay. Speaking of the Green Bay Packers and the Lions, the 49ers Packers, that was a decent game. San Francisco played not too well. They lost Debo Samuels early in the game. You had Christian McCaffrey with a calf, and it looked like they was massaging his hamstring. He really wasn't effective the entire game. They didn't play well. The defense didn't play well for the 49ers, and they still come out on top with Green Bay having a chance to do something as well and move the ball. I'm looking at it as I'm hoping that you played your worst game, and that's your worst game because this is probably the worst they've looked since they lost to the Cleveland Browns early on in the season. So, what do you think about this game right here? The Green Bay Packers and the 49ers.
Well, it's a great point and observation when you talked about the fact that the Niners might have been their worst game, if not their second worst game of the season. But it lends itself to the kind of talent this team has for you not to play your best and still win against a good Green Bay team. Green Bay, Love is definitely the future, but the time is not now. He's just too young, too inexperienced. But the Packers were right there, and the upset was right there for the taking, and they just did not get it done. But Carlson, here's the problem. This time of year, you have to have a good kicking game. That's why the Ravens are such a solid team. Tucker is the best of the best of the best. Adverse weather, indoors, adverse weather, doesn't matter. This guy is going to convert, and you have to have that. So Tucker, it's an automatic 3 points whenever he lines up to kick a field goal and or an extra point. But the fact that the Niners knocked off the Green Bay Packers, not that big of a surprise. The surprising part was that they played so horrifically bad and still got the job done.
On both sides of the ball. I was watching the game. I'm like, this is bad for them. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop with Green Bay sneaking in. That would have made it a good NFC North division rivalry game. But I'm looking at it. Oh, I think you got a call coming in. But yeah, I'm looking at the 49ers now being able to turn this around against a highly motivated, inspired Detroit Lions team. And they got to get the injury bug away. This is a bad time to get your injuries. Good time for the Detroit Lions. Do you see? I mean, you talked about it. No chance for an upset. No chance.
Well, I've been doing this too long to know anything is possible. It's a football game, and it's called parity on any given Sunday for a reason. Now, obviously, if it was the NBA or Major League Baseball, best 4 times out of 7. If if lightning should strike and the Lions should win as a 7-point dog and win the game straight up, stranger things have happened. But if it should happen, it's like, congrats, now you have to beat them another 3 times. That's why in other sports, the better team almost always wins. But in football, that is not the case on any given Sunday. The Niners, as good as they are, I mean, the Lions could continue to gamble with their coach with retarded bad decisions, and they could gamble and win, all right?
Yep.
And or there could be a ton of turnovers, and or a pick six, a fumble, run back for a touchdown. So unforeseen things happen on a regular basis. So to ask if there's no chance of an upset, there's absolutely an opportunity for an upset. Is it likely? No. I love going with proven winners. I like going with hungry teams. I love captain home team. So I just think the Niners I think the Niners are the best team in football. And we'll see what happens come Super Bowl Sunday. I'm going to be there. I know you're going to be there. We'll be tearing it up, celebrating an exciting football season.
Exactly. And hopefully we have a good game there. I think the Green Bay Packers played good. You had Aaron Jones playing good, and your boy Jordan Love played well. Lots of drop balls by George Kittle. He dropped at least 2 or 3 passes. I mean, it was bad for them. So I'm hoping that was their worst game coming in. What do you think of the Packers?
Well, what I like about the Packers is they're going to be solid moving forward. Their future's bright. They went into that game, Greg, with a 4-game winning streak, youngest team in football. Now, there would have been a difference if this game was in Green Bay as opposed to being on the road. They have nothing to be ashamed about, except I do want to call them out on one thing. Their kicker, Carlson. Their kicker, you have to understand, they actually said no one has missed more field goals this year than the Green Bay Packer kicker, but the powers that be say, hey, we're going to dance with who brought us, and we believe in him, and we're willing to take our chances. Well, you should have been up 7 late, and chances are, even if the Niners come back and score the late touchdown, which they ultimately did, you go to overtime, and there's, a 50, 55, 60% chance you're going to win or lose. But to miss that field goal, that
Mm,
opened the door. And of course, the rest is history. You could see it. Niners came right down and stuck it
yep.
to them.
Yep. You gave them a chance to stay in there. Can't do that. Houston Texans, they were kind of Cinderella as well with the rookie quarterback. Baltimore Ravens, the most dominant team. I'm going to say they didn't look that spectacular in this game, but they advance. And, it was 10-10 at halftime, if I'm not mistaken. It was 10-10 at halftime. That was good for your pockets. You might want to explain what happens there on that one because you were happy with that outcome. But then it was over in the second half. Baltimore ran over them. Tell everybody why you were excited about that halftime score.
Well, everyone gets caught up in who's going to win and lose, who's going to bet the over, who's going to bet the under. But I've got commitment issues, okay? In everyday life, relationships, and in sports betting, same thing. So why tie up my money for 3 hours on a 3 hour contract from kickoff to finish when I can tie up my money for an hour and a half? I can tie it up for the first half or tie it up for the second half. Now, I don't give out these sophisticated advantage plays on my site because there's not much of a shelf life, but I bet the first half. I bet the second half because there's an advantage. It's a huge, huge, huge advantage. What I'm going to tell you about first half betting, write it down, and this should be a commandment, a sacrament. It's that important. What I'm going to share with you is going to make you a ton of money, a ton. If you do nothing else when it comes to sports betting, but do what I'm going to tell you to do, and I'm going to give you an example. I'm at a sports book and I hear a guy say on Tuesday, I bet the Steelers first half on Sunday. And I simply said, who's getting the ball to start the game? He says, nobody knows. I said, exactly. So why would you bet the first half not knowing who's going to get the ball? Now, we know when you bet the second half, you, me, and the sports books, the odds makers know which team gets the ball to start the third quarter. It's the team that didn't get the ball to start the game. But the odds makers will shade it. They will tilt it. You have to pay a premium. And if you're going to have to pay a premium to get an extra possession for that second half. But the first half line is posted from Sunday to the following Sunday. So why would you bet the first half not knowing who's going to get the ball? Now, most sports books that are sharp, it only takes one that's not. It only takes one at a time that is not. If you are sharp and savvy and respect your money and want to take advantage of an unfair advantage, do what I've been doing for decades. It's free money. You can find out on the internet who's getting the ball first. Now, most sports books will take it down or they will shade it like they do for the second half, but some don't. So find the ones that don't and then pounce. So Texans plus the points in the first half. All week, the number was the same. And about 30 seconds before kickoff, I stepped up, bet the limit, winner, winner, steak and lobster dinner. I get an extra possession. Now, same thing in the Packer game. Packers +7 for the first half. All week, I see about 90 seconds before kickoff, the Packers are getting the ball first. That means I have an extra possession. Well, guess what? I have +7 for the first half, and they ate the clock for 7.5 minutes and scored a field goal. That means I'm up 10-zip before the Niners even see the ball, and I've eaten a quarter. I've eaten half of a quarter. So the Niners have a quarter and a half to make up that 7-point difference. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but long term, you're going to hit 58 to 60% of the winners because that line that I bet into was predicated on not knowing. But I knew who was getting the ball first, therefore I had an extra possession. You need to rewind this part of the because this is going to make you a ton of money. And I just hope that the sports books don't just always take it down. A lot of them do. A lot of them do, and they should. And or they should adjust the number accordingly. But I have a select few outs. I have 14 different places I can bet at my fingertips and or in person. And I take full advantage of that. The more outs you have, the more opportunities you have. And if you're betting big money, you have to do what you can to offset the big, to offset the juice.
There you go, man. That's I don't know, man. You should have charged for that one. You should have charged for that one. But you guys got it for free. But let's say the Baltimore Ravens right now, they had probably the easiest game going into the second half. Do you think this team looked good? And do they look good enough to beat the defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs?
Irrelevant if they look good, if they look bad, because again, last week's game is history. This weekend's game is a mystery. I never overreact or underreact to one game. I look at it's a 3-hour contract. I look at matchups. I look at home field. I look at the kicking game. I look at the weather. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. This guy can run. He can pass. He's got a chip on his shoulder. And yet I respect the Kansas City Chiefs. I love proven commodities. And Andy Reid, Kelsey, and Mahomes, they are proven. 5 of the last 6 AFC championships games, the Chiefs have been there. The difference is they are used to playing at home. Well, the Buffalo Bills should be ashamed of themselves. And I hate to call this guy out, but Josh Allen was the reason they didn't get it done. You know, he's talking all this smack, and all these Bills fans are talking all this smack, and I bought into it. I actually felt no one's made more money betting on the Kansas City Chiefs over the past few years than me. But this was the time I lost money on the Buffalo Bills on Sunday. And again, I own my wins. I own my losses. I always have the conviction, win, lose, or draw. I generally win a few more than I lose, that's why I make my living betting sports on a consistent long-term basis. It's why I've had a lot of success in contests documented here in Las Vegas as well. But if I look at that game objectively, the Bills at home, they were the hottest team in football. They had won 7 straight games, 6 of those games against playoff teams. They're at home against their nemesis. It's time to put up or shut up. But once again, Andy Reid, Mahomes, Kelsey, Josh Allen, man, you had your chances. You missed a receiver in the end zone. You also missed the underneath receiver that would have got you the first down. You choked it away, man. You choked it away.
Some people are saying Stephon Diggs, and just to be honest, this is the game. I had a members live stream during the game, so I didn't catch most of the second half, and of course, I completely missed the missed field goal, and we went Scott Norwood on the field goal. Do you think the Buffalo Bills are cursed? Are they ever going to win?
There's no such thing from a sports betting standpoint. And there's no such thing. I was at that game in Tampa, Florida, 1991, when the most beautiful, angelic voice, Whitney Houston, sang the national anthem, gave me chills. It still gives me chills thinking about it. She was an icon. Terrible, terrible demise story of the way that she passed. But I'm telling you, what a talent. But yeah, I was there when Norwood missed the field goal. The Buffalo Bills, that was my first Super Bowl back in 91. And now coming up on Sunday, February 11th, will be my 6th Super Bowl. So I'm excited. It'll be my 5th or 6th. The last one was when the Rams played the Titans, when Kurt Warner and the Rams, and actually McNair, the late great McNair, and the Titans finished just a yard short. I was right there at the 35-yard line when that went down. So that was the last time I went to a Super Bowl. But I have to say, prices have gone up since the last time I was at a Super Bowl. But no, there's no such thing as a team being cursed. It's really this team, these players have had nothing to do with the history of the Buffalo Bills. Same way, Greg, the Lions, as bad as they've been professional losers for a long time. And I'm going to upset the Lions fans again by calling out their marquee guy. I got into it with the guy at a sports book at the Nugget downtown about 4 months ago. They were talking about the Lions and the fact that Barry Sanders is this and Barry Sanders is that. And I'd heard enough, so I had to go in and interject and said, do you know that you're putting all your faith and energy on a guy who quit? He quit on his team. He quit on the city. He quit on the franchise. And if that wasn't enough, Barry Sanders fanatics, and this is what they didn't know, because they're diehard Lions fans. I know this because they have Detroit. First of all, for a grown man to wear another man's name on his back, I'll question that for another day. Nothing personal there, Raider fan. But I have to say, I told them, I'm going to tell you what I told them. I said, Barry Sanders holds the world record. The history of the league has been along a long, long time, but Barry Sanders holds the record for most yardage lost behind the line of scrimmage. I used to get annoyed during the day. Barry Sanders, amazing. He broke 7 tackles. Net loss 3 yards. Yeah, I don't want to hear how many tackles you broke if you lost 3 yards. How about running up the field instead of side to side?
He could run 50 yards sideways pretty good, so it's impressive that you can run another 80 yards for a total of 130 yards, but net, that's kind of how Barry Sanders are. And Walter Payton is another one of those cutback backs, running side to side, east to west, east to west 50 yards, sideline to sideline before you pick up 2 yards.
But Peyton never quit on his team. He never quit on the franchise. He never quit on the city. So everyone forgets. I don't forget. And now everyone's celebrating Sanders, and that's fine. But
He's
again,
always
you're not going to hear this on ESPN that he
right.
holds the league record over the past decades of no one's lost more yardage behind the line of scrimmage than Barry Sanders.
Yeah, I think some coaches will go after some players for running side to side like that. Let me tell you something, but that's for sure. Most people be right now are running straight ahead. So Barry Sanders is interesting enough because most of their players quit on them. Even Megatron quit on them for as bad as their franchise has been. He said, I can do no more either. And I can understand that. It's a little bit bad place to be. Kansas City Chiefs, we got the Taylor Swift effect still alive. I thought you put the fire extinguisher out on Taylor Swift last week. I'm sorry, on Friday. But Tay is still in the game. Right now, the NFL script, people who believe in the NFL script, they got Kansas City beating the Baltimore Ravens next week. Okay. Now, I know I had Kansas City versus San Francisco. Most people want Baltimore versus San Francisco. Any chance Taylor Swift effect can sweep this game like they swept it in Buffalo?
Well, if the Chiefs should win, it will have less than zero to do with what Taylor Swift does or doesn't do, whether she's singing on key or off key. Never mind what the masses want, what the perceived script might be. All you need to know is Vegas. That's why I will listen to a bad sports bettor as opposed to any media type, because sports bettors watch every game, every play. They're putting their money where their mouth is. And Vegas has the line at 3.5, Baltimore, for a reason. It's tough. Imagine this from Kansas City. And again, I respect Kansas City. I've won a lot of money on Kansas City, but I was against them against the Bills. Now, Kansas City had to go to Buffalo, hostile environment, emotionally draining. Now they have to go on the road again against another bad boy team in Baltimore. They're talented, number one in the league in rushing the ball. This Chiefs team, they're different than past Chiefs team because they are very, very good on defense. But offensively, outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, they're solid, but they're far from great. Baltimore, offensively, they are great. 156 yards a game on the ground, which that lends itself to playoff football in January. Oftentimes it's outdoors, oftentimes it's cold. And I like teams that can run the ball and conversely can stop the run and kicking game. No one's better than Baltimore.
All right, so we got it right there, and that leads me to tell you that let me pull this up for the people actually who want to see the let's see if I can share this. For some reason, it's not sharing the right screen, but the Super Bowl logo theory is still alive. All right, the Super Bowl logos theory is still alive. Just after this weekend, you got San Francisco and Baltimore. People are concerned right now that Taylor Swift. The NFL script writers don't know what they want to do. I know you already shot this down last week, but it's still out there.
Well, it has nothing to do. I mean, first of all, Baltimore going into the playoffs, they were a number one seed for a reason. In San Francisco, they were a number one seed for a reason. So I don't know, and I don't care why they come up with those numbers, if it's coincidence or they're just going to go with the top two seeded teams. But to say that well, the NFL already knows it's going to be Baltimore and San Francisco, and it very well could be, but it would be more to do with the fact that they have a good running game, a good defense, and they're at home, and they got to bye in the first round, and they're playing a weak sister in the second round, and they basically have to win one game to get to the big dance. But then after that happens, and I hope it does happen for my sake, selfishly, because I'm connected at the hip to my money per my wallet, not what the script writers quote unquote want or what Taylor Swift might want. And I have nothing against Taylor Swift, but can I just watch the football game without going to her every 37 seconds?
Yeah, they're trying to get into the $1 billion industry and sell some of those Travis Kelce jackets and that type of thing. So the NFL's looking at their money for the most part. And now we got the older Kelce brother out there with his shirt off, freezing cold. It's making for some good theatrics for sure.
Now that part I liked. That part, that guy I could relate to. And in defense of the NFL, they're in business for business, and we know that ladies, as much as we love them, they are consumers. Okay, so they're going to showcase her. I know women today are more sports fans of the Kansas City Chiefs than ever before, and it's because of Taylor Swift. So hey, I'm a capitalist. I believe in free enterprise. I believe in getting what you can get when you can get it. So I'm not faulting the NFL, but again, I want to watch the game to see if I'm going to cash my ticket.
That's right.
That's it.
Okay, you said the Clippers. We talked Clippers basketball. Let's talk about them again. For the people who didn't see, the Clippers 22-0 run to finish off the Brooklyn Nets last night. They were down in a hole, and 22 straight points unanswered got the Clippers over. But there's something that you might want to add about this, because you talked about the Clippers being for real. You talked about them being a for real team. Their championship build certainly could be a favor going into the Western Conference Finals should they stay healthy. And they look like they were on the ropes. They're the hottest team in the NBA, right? They're the hottest team in the NBA. And they were on the ropes last night. But guess what? None of that mattered. They came through with a 22-0 run to go ahead and put away the Nets at home. Tell us about why we should be looking at that, and why that would have been favorable for us last night.
I'm a big pro basketball fan. I bet college and pro football, college and pro basketball, Major League Baseball, women's basketball. I'm not proud, but I am loud. And just put a number on something and I will bet into it if I have an informational advantage and if I can get value on the betting number. But we talked on Friday, Greg, that I said watch and learn in regards to the Clippers. They are now 18-2 in their last 20 games when Kawhi Leonard plays. But the fact is, and I know I'm not popular for saying so, but again, I own it. I'm not a big Ty Lue guy. The Clippers have been off for 5 days. They're at home, sold out arena. LA is embracing this team, much like I've been embracing them after the first 6 games when Harden came over. This team is stacked, 4 Hall of Famers. You've got 3 stud starting centers. Now Zubats is out, but Zubats, Plumlee, Tice. You've got 2 valid 6 Men of the Year players in Russell Westbrook and Norman Powell. This team is loaded. They're the deepest team in the NBA. But 5 days to prepare against the hapless, hopeless, pathetic Brooklyn Nets, 3,000 miles away from home. And Ty Lue had his team so prepared that they gave up the first 16 points of the game. They, 8 minutes to go in the first quarter, had not scored it. They scored the same number of points I had, but I don't play basketball. 16-0. Second half down 18 points. What's interesting about this game, I didn't have an opinion, but I watch every game as a professional sports bettor. I watch every play. I'm watching about 5 to 6 games at a time. I love it, but here's the point. The Clippers favored. Imagine betting money on the Nets. Imagine having the Nets plus 10 and a hook, and you're up 16 zip. You're up 26.5-0. Looking good, feeling good. You're up 18 in the second half. You're up 28.5 points. Even I cannot find a way to lose that game, except if you bet the Nets to end the game. You gave up 22 unanswered, as the
Mm,
Clippers won by 11 and
mm.
covered by the Hook. Dr. Hook is in the house.
They cover by a half a point.
Yes.
Wow. Okay. All right. So interesting. I'm not going to get my tinfoil hat on, but covering by a half a point. I mean those games hurt when I bet it that way. I'm just letting you know.
It's
And I
why
would
they
have been
call
like,
it gambling.
that's why they call it gambling. I'm gonna tell you, man. I'm on edge if I got 10 and a half and I'm seeing them down 28 points. Essentially, I'm down 28 points, and then they come roaring back. I gotta feel good about some things. Maybe they made a call, but we won't talk about that. That's for me to talk about. I don't want you to get in trouble, but somebody might have made a call on the sideline. Maybe they had something to do with that Super Bowl graphic that we talked about earlier. I don't know.
We can always talk about it, but I'm always going to two things. One, if you believe games are scripted or fixed, A, you shouldn't bet, number one. And number two, actually three things. Number two, if the game is fixed, why are you on the wrong side of the fix? And number
Mm,
three, Vegas has, they don't have to fix a game. They don't. They take 10% of the losses. So there's, and professional athletes making 30 million a year cannot be bought. Now you
right.
might be able to get to an official a la Tim Donaghy back in 2007, I think it was. But those are isolated incidences. You know, the guy at the time was making $250,000 a year, and yet he got into some problems with some undesirable folks he
Okay.
owed
Yeah.
some money to, and he
Yeah.
ended up getting bought and being bought. But yeah, I don't think that. And the fourth thing is you've never heard me or any other winning player say the game
Mm,
was fixed. No, you were lazy. You didn't do your homework. You didn't know that LeBron was not playing tonight, even though there's a thing called the internet and it's
mm.
posted. I can't tell you how many times in a sports book, and I don't engage because I have to focus, but I overhear so many idiotic conversations like, oh man, I didn't know LeBron was out tonight. It's like, dude, do you think the line was going to be 3 if he was playing? We would have been 8.5 if he was playing. No wonder
Mm.
you thought 3 was a good price. But if he's not playing, obviously it's going to affect the point spread. But no winning player has ever said, "Oh, this game is fixed."
All right, so it's the people taking those losses at the sports book that might think that. And I look at it from a position of, you guys are watching what's going on. The sports books don't have that much of an advantage in this particular the tables might have a better advantage than the sports betting. Am I correct at that?
You're
So if you
110%. You're
so the
110%
they got a
correct.
better advantage on the tables. The sports betting, they don't have that much margin.
Well, I'll give you, I'm a math guy, numbers guy, laws of probability guy, and the bottom line is the bottom line. In defense of the sports book, their margin is small. That's why they limit guys like me. That's why they reject some of my plays. And that's why I constantly get harassed. And it's annoying to me. But I'm like a quarterback playing against the prevent defense. I'll simply take what you're going to give me. But I'll give you an example. Years ago, it was so ridiculous. Years ago, I went to bet a WNBA total 119 points under. And I know they're only going to limit me to a nickel. So I bet 550 to win 500 under 119. And they said rejected. And I rolled my eyes and said, okay, give me the 330 to win 300. Rejected again. I
Oh wow.
said, do you just not want any action at all? Do you only want square action? And the supervisor came over and said, we're only taking $100 on that game. $100. So today I would just walk out, but back then I bet 110 to win 100. And $100 bet at this sports book, it moved the number because it was me from 119 to 117. Now, as I was walking out of the sports book, it occurred to me that I've been in Vegas for 3+ decades. I don't do any form of gambling. I stay in my line. I do sports betting and sports betting only. 2 games of skill, sports betting and live poker, but I only do sports betting. But it occurred to me if I went to the craps table, where I guess if you bet to pass, not to pass, or to come, not to come, whatever the term is, there's like a 51% advantage for the casino, 49% is the number for the player. But based on that small edge, they will let you bet $10,000 on a roll of the dice. Yet they're worried about a WNBA game in June because they know the only people betting WNBA totals are wise guys and sharpies like myself, not Joe Turris from Topeka.
Right. So if they see some action, I mean, we could actually have a whole stream on this, but if they see some big money being put on a WNBA game out of the blue, they probably have to think something's up or something, for sure. And somebody had a question, says, what happens if a lot of people win? I have a quick answer. Tomorrow, a lot of people will lose. So let's go and get your answer. And the fact that, let's just say there's big action, a lot of people win, and the casinos take a big loss. What is their mindset?
The casinos, the sports books, their golden objective. First of all, it's a great question, and I love viewer questions, as long as you're not breaking down into, hey, what is your opinion on the McNeese State versus Houston Christian game? Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into the bigger question. The better question would be, hey, Scotty P, who do you like today? That would be a good question. But when your viewer talks specifically about what happens when Vegas has all the money on one side. Well, first of all, they want action. They want volume. There is something called hold percentage. And the sports books are thinking their hold percentage is 5%. That means every time you, me, or the neighbor lady puts in a bet, they're expecting to make $5 per 100. Now, you, me, and any other sharp can offset the house's edge by being sharp, seeing that where the value is, getting good numbers, taking +7 when it closes 6, laying 2.5 when it closes 3.5. So instead of being a small favorite to lose, I flip the tables. I'm a small favorite to win. The break-even point is 52.4%. So if you can hit 55, 56% winners long term, you're going to make a lot of money. The living legend, Billy Walters, check him out on 60 Minutes, 77 years old, the world's best handicapper on the planet. His goal and objective was to hit 55% winners. So me, having been documented for football the last 2 seasons at 66% winners versus the number, but usually I'm 55 to 60%. So that means, that's why you never want to put it all on one game, because that means on my best day, I'm going to be wrong 40% of the time. So back to the question, sports books want volume. If you're a sports book and you have 5 players and 4 of them bet the Chicago Bears, well, you're exposed. But if you have a ton of people on both sides, they want to equal the action as much as possible, although it never happens that way. But if all the money's coming in on one side and they're exposed, they'll simply shade the number a certain way to encourage more action, more money on the other side, and they'll take 10% of the losses.
And so that's why that number moves, that number moves. So in the morning, it's one number. And then if it stayed at that number, obviously it would prevent people from betting, right? You're like, oh, I don't want to get on that side of it. So the number might move either way. And that's going to say, okay, I'll get in now. Right. So, you know what I mean? And so now that volume increases and people are playing different numbers. By the way, those numbers matter, because if you didn't bet it at 61, over 61, and you had a shootout, and then the number 64, and that thing lands at 62, well, you got some winners and you got some losers. So again, that kind of answers this question. What happens if people win a lot of money? But you're saying on the volume side, yeah, people won a lot at 61.5, but a lot of people lost at over 64 too at the same time. So was able to nullify that a little bit.
Well, I want to expand on that. This is critically important to your viewers' question, because when you're talking about volume, and you had mentioned, Coach, and I understand why you said it, don't think that because you're betting big money, you're going to change the number. That's totally, if it's Joe Tourist from Kalamazoo, he's not going to move the number. He's not. I can bet small, and I'm going to move the number because I have a target on my back. I'm already in the system as an advantage player. So it's not that you're betting big money. It's that you're a shark. I'll give you one quick example. Years ago, Resorts World is where it is now, but it used to be the Stardust, which has been famous for a long time. Me and a select few other people working for a sports betting group, and it was Billy Walters' group, actually, and we're betting professionally for that sports betting group, legally, honorably, and ethically. And we'd have a lottery. The Stardust line would open up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and there would be 8 of us. 8 of us. At that time, I was working for someone else as opposed to being an independent now for the past 20 plus years, closer to 30 plus years at this point in time. But we'd have a lottery. We'd have to draw cards for when the sports book opened at 8 o'clock in the morning per the supervisor, and we'd go in an order, and we could only bet $300 per game. Mm. And then they would move the number. Well, there was a guy, tourist from Kansas City, Missouri, who witnessed this, and he bet $10,000 on some game, and I was there with my cronies. And when he asked the sportsbook supervisor, and he pointed me out, he said, "Why is it you took $10,000 from me, and you'd only take $300 from this guy?" And the sportsbook supervisor smirked, smiled, and said, "Because I respect his opinion." Think about that. Because so this guy bet 10,000 and didn't move the number. Me and others are betting, sharps are betting 300 and moving the number.
Right. There you go. And so, yes, people, this might be another stream as well, because advantage players is something that you will see. Some people on YouTube will say they bet a lot of money on a consistent basis at hotel casinos and they clean them out. But a lot of people don't know that that might not be true, because if you're an advantage player winning a lot of money on a consistent basis, you're not putting down $100,000 bets. They're probably not going to take that bet on a consistent basis.
They're not going to take it. They're not going to take it from a sharp, but you can have many outs and you can kind of spread the wealth, if you will. So it's the game within the game. And I understand what I'm talking about is advanced. What I'm talking about is going from one of the world's worst sports bettors to one of the world's best, having been documented, having been proven, having provided a very nice lifestyle for myself. And I have to tell you, I understand the masses are recreational players. You know, you might be a plumber or a janitor during the day or a teacher, and that's great. That's awesome. When you're doing what you're doing, I do this 24/7. That's why people pay me and pay me well. And it doesn't mean I'm going to win every game, but you don't have to. You just have to hit 55, 58% winners. But that's not easy. Imagine flipping a coin. The point spread is there to present a 50-50 proposition, and the sports books will take 10% of the losses. So that's why I say try flipping a coin 100 times and being right 66% of the time. Yep. The break-even point is 52.4%. That means you have to be right 11 times out of 21 just to break even. But back to my original point, I understand there's a recreational aspect to this. People are betting for action. They're betting for fun. Nothing's better than watching a sporting event when you have action, when you have money on it. I always laugh at the guy who's screaming and yelling, and after the game is halfway over and he's up 20-3, and he's bragging and screaming and yelling, "I knew it. I told everybody. I knew it. I knew it." I said, "Dude, I've been talking to you for 7 days. You didn't say squat about this, number one. And number two, you're telling me it was a lock after it's halftime. How much did you bet on the game?" And he said, $20. I said, "Man, I'd hate to think what you would bet if you weren't so sure."
Yeah. Because if putting your money where your mouth is, of course, if he was so sure, he would have cleaned out. Yep.
Right. Exactly.
We got a couple of super chats, and Jay James is asking about the Super Bowl logo color. We talked about that last week, and we just talked about it again. So thank you for that, Jay James. And the Wealth Manager says Cowboys win when Jerry is gone, the ghost of the Jimmy Johnson. So yeah, I don't want to talk about Jerry being gone. I don't want to wish death on anyone, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't. He's still paying for the fact that he fired Jimmy Johnson in the middle of a run, and they haven't been doing anything. So the Cowboy players definitely hurt for that. Scott, tell them where to find you, and I meant to put the links in the description box, but I'll do it today. Tell them where to find you and who you are. Again, they might have missed it.
I was on TV again most recently Friday night. The VSiN, Vegas Sports Information Network, YouTube TV, where you can catch all the NFL games. But I've been on TV 17, 18 times since September. And you can also catch me if you want daily free picks. Simply go to pritchardspicks.com. Some of the information is free, some of it you have to pay for. Ultimately, people that once they get dialed in with my free picks, they usually parlay that into purchasing. But you can do that or you cannot do that, because I'm going to make my money by keeping the main thing, which is betting my games. The reason I have my own sports betting information site is because I'm tired of people day in and day out. Scotty P, who do you like today? Scotty P, who do you like today? It's like, hey, it's posted on my site. Sign up on my site. So it makes my life a little bit easier. And respectfully, Greg, I'm doing the work anyway. So why not put it out there for the masses? And as far as free picks go, if for any reason you don't like the free picks, I'll make sure you get your money back.
Oh, there you go.
A free pick guarantee. If you don't like the free pick, I'll give you your free money back.
Get your free money back. Okay. Yeah. Don't give them the money back when they lose, though. I was making
sure it was a joke.
Got it. I got confused for a second. I didn't want you to. I was like, wait a minute. Let me edit that out. All right. Well, good. Well, listen, enjoy safe travels to Costa Rica. We'll be back on Friday to preview these games and any NBA news and any college basketball, because that's going to start to take precedence coming up, because the conference tournaments will start somewhere weeks after the Super Bowl. So we got that coming up if we want to pay attention to some college hoops. Appreciate y'all for being here. Hit the like button on the way out. And Scotty P, travel safe. Enjoy your time in Costa Rica.
Thanks again. I'll talk to you on Friday, buddy.
All right. Peace.